Hello, I'm back, and this is my final video of the week, hopefully. And this video focuses on, as the title might say, Sony is not fine 3.0. I'll have 3 articles in the description feed that basically support my claims, but I also have some caveats. I've heard some people in this YouTube community who are Xbox fanboys say that the reason Sony is in such dire straits is because they were giving free games to gamers. I'll dispel that also. That has nothing to do with Sony's problems. Like, it's a drop in the bucket. So, after the cut, we'll get down to the nitty-gritty. Hello. Basically, I'm saying this, because it needs to be said. Sony, basically, I would say 16 years ago, started doing a lot of bonehead financial maneuvers. Actually, longer than 16 years ago, like 20 years ago. Basically, all of the goodwill and stuff that they built, goodwill and business contacts and customer base that they built up 20 years ago with the Walkman, CD Walkman, and their electronics and their TVs, because Sony used to, a long time ago, 20 years ago, had affordable things, okay? They competed against Philips and Magnavox, and Samsung hadn't really gotten to the TV business at that point, but they competed against those Yamaha makes electronics too. They competed against those other companies, and they made a decent quality product that wasn't too expensive. But 20 years ago, things began to change. A lot of people began to make some bad financial decisions. Mostly, they started decreasing. They stopped putting so much. They started putting a lot of their money into packing as much technology into their products as possible. Which there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that the technology was cutting edge and it increased the cost. And they did that for about 5-10 years, up to 10 years ago. Then Sony started focusing on their entertainment divisions. So, they started pushing formats, right? DVDs, CDs, Blu-ray. Now, the problem with this is very simple. Very, very simple. You price yourself out of your own market, okay? The reason why 4K TVs are not going to be in a mainstay of TV culture is because they're too damned expensive, okay? It's the reason why 3D TVs aren't really in every household. They're still too damn expensive for the average person to just go and buy a TV. Can't do it. I recently got a new TV for my guest room, because I have a guest staying at my house, and you know what? It cost $139 plus tax, and it's a decent sized TV about this big. Okay, $139. 1080p, 60 frames per second. Very nice television. HDMI enabled. Very nice TV. Guess what? $139. Now, Sony had their TVs. You know how much the same size TV would have cost with Sony? Well, I'll tell you. $400. Well, it was $379, but if you add in the tax, $400. That's ridiculous. Okay, that's too damn much. Okay, same TV, much more expensive. That's wrong. That's wrong. And you can't say, well, it's the features. Sony has stopped really innovating and is basically trading off of their name. And they charge way too damn much for something that you either you can get the same level of amount of bang for your buck from someone else, or you can get less. or you can pay less and get more. Okay? And that's the problem. The worst part is that in these 3 articles, it'll tell you the things that Sony has been doing. They fired a lot of the developers at Santa Monica, Sony Santa Monica. So, yeah, a game they were working on was completely destroyed. So for all you Sony fanboys, oh, as long as it doesn't affect the games, it affected the game. Sony is not fine. Okay. And this is also going to affect future games because guess what? Sony Santa Monica, Sony can't afford to fund. I mean, basically, they canceled a project that they had been working on that they were going to show at E3. This E3, 2014. Think about that. That's money, time, energy that these people spent to make a game, to make it presentable for E3, which is really in just a few months, really. Okay? And guess what? That's money down the tube. That just a project, it's just gone, okay? That's money that's gone. Literally, they could have taken that money and thrown it out the window and it would have been more effective at this point. Sony did that, okay? Sony is shutting down their computer store, their Sony stores that are like 20 of them in North America. Sony did that. Now, to tell you the truth, I don't know why Sony has stores to sell their products, because you can get Sony products at any major electronics store. So why would Sony specifically have stores just to sell their products? It's not like their products are so high quality and special that you can only get it, like Bose or something like that. Not that Bose is high quality, but it has certain features that make it, gives them the leverage to have their own stores. Sony did that. And now they realize that they can't sustain it. It's unsustainable. First of all, why the fuck would you have your own stores, as I just said, when you can go to Walmart, Target, Best Buy, even Kmart, Sears, JCPenney. I mean, you can go all these different places and buy Sony products without having to go to a Sony store. So why would Sony have a Sony store? That makes no sense. And they're shutting 20 of them down. Not all of them, but 20 of them down. I don't know who okayed a Sony store. Yeah, that's a good idea. Probably one of the assholes who's at the helm right now who okayed all this shit 10 years ago. Ken Kutaragi, Shuhei Yoshida, and Jack Tretton. And last but not least, Sony is firing 5,000 people from their company and selling off their old Tokyo headquarters and surrounding buildings. But Sony is fine. Now, listen, recently Nintendo was going through some financial hardship. Minor compared to what Sony's losing, and their CEO, basically president and CEO, took a 50% pay cut, but he's not firing anyone, okay? The ball's in his court, he's gonna take the brunt. These fucking assholes at Sony are gonna fire the people who had nothing to do with these bad financial decisions that these assholes have been making, but keep their paychecks, keep their stock options, keep their money. Yeah, fuck these people, okay? Fuck them, okay? Fuck Shuhei Yoshida, fuck Ken Kutaragi, and Jack Tretton. I hope he falls down a flight of stairs and breaks his foot. But Sony is fine. No gaming media will talk about this. They'll say, Sony is fine! Sony is fine! Sony is not fine. Sony may even be fucked. Because everything they're doing right now is basically dealing with the symptoms and not the root cause of the problem. Okay? Firing developers who make games that make you money, selling off stores that, if they were healthy, would be making you profit. You're basically getting rid of your assets that you use, your tools that you use in order to make money. this is, selling off buildings, that's a one-time profit thing, okay? It's kind of like if I were to sell off my machines at my business. I'm making a profit because I'm selling off the tools I use in order to bring in business. So yeah, it looks like that year I made all this money, but I got rid of my tools that I used to make money. So in the long term, I'm fucking myself, and not in a good way. I'm screwing myself over. My business is taking a huge hit. And Sony is doing things to stave off bankruptcy at this point. Okay? Calls for the people that they owe money to get paid. Okay? That's what they're doing. Now, do I want Sony to go bankrupt? No. I like Sony. I want a PS4. Just strictly for the third-party offerings that won't be coming to my platform of choice, the Wii U or Nintendo systems. But, Sony has dug this hole for themselves. They did it to themselves. Their arrogance, their lack of understanding the general market. They're forcing technology off onto people. They're supporting dead systems like the Vita. The Vita. Look, just drop that shit. Just drop the Vita and just stop. Just let it go. Just let it go. You can't afford it, okay? You're never going to take the handheld market from Nintendo. No one's going to take the handheld market from Nintendo. Not even iPhones and iPads, Androids, and smartphones are taking the handheld market, the dedicated handheld gaming market from Nintendo. So just stop trying. Just be like, you know what? This is not worth the money it would take to actually make a profit in this market. Just stop. Just fucking stop. But that brings me to the caveat section, which will happen after the break, where I will be dispelling some myths that some Xbox fanboys around the net in this community, the gaming community at large, not the Nintendo gaming community, have been saying, because it's stupid. Well, here's the caveat section. You'll hear from various people in this YouTube community. I recently saw a video from John Doe 98 something, whatever, about how Sony is the reason Sony is because they're giving away free games. No, that's business. Here's the thing, okay? Sony fanboys will say, basically his argument, John Doe's argument is that the reason Sony is losing money is because of PS Plus and them buying free games and giving away free stuff. That's not what's losing Sony money. The PS3, supporting the PS3 throughout its major problems, hurt Sony. Okay, that I would say that is a good 25% of what really hurt Sony over the last decade, causing them to lose billions every year. That's a part of it, okay? But PS Plus is not within itself was not within and of itself hurting Sony, okay? It wasn't, okay? Because here's the thing you have to realize about PS Plus, okay? PS Plus works on a 1:1:3 ratio, okay? I've noticed, because a friend of mine gave me a free PS Plus card for 3 months, and I used it, and then I canceled it because I fucking hate, so I canceled the auto renewal because I'm not paying $39.99, whatever, $19.99. It was a waste. PS Plus is a waste of money to me. Here's what I mean by the 1:1:3 ratio, okay? PS Plus will normally have between 1 to 3 games, okay? With 2 games being reduced in price, okay? So 1:1:3, okay? So 1 game that's really worthwhile downloading, 1 game that's that's okay, not great. That's like a second tier, third tier game that's okay but not great, and then 3 shitty games that no one in their right mind would ever want to buy in the first place. Okay. Case in point, recently, like earlier this month, PlayStation Plus had BioShock Infinite, Devil May Cry, the reboot with the dark-haired Dante, and BioShock Infinite, okay? 3 games. Okay, plus they had Sleeping Dogs for $9.99 and Tales of Zillia for $9.99. Okay, now BioShock Infinite is a good game, not great, pretty good. DMC was widely decried by fans of the series. It's not a bad game, but it's like second tier. It's okay. Sleeping Dogs, $9.99. But here's the thing: the DLC for Sleeping Dogs never goes on sale. And if you were to get all the DLC for Sleeping Dogs, it's like $49. So by the time you pay $9.99 plus $49, you've paid for the game. You would do better just to buy the game of the year edition if Square ever makes a game of the year edition. But Square doesn't like making game of the year editions because they want to milk your money. They want to milk your wallet, and not in a pleasurable way. So you're talking 113. Okay, one good game, one okay game, one mediocre game, and then games that you could just care less about. Last game, Tales of Zillia. Tales of Zillia is, I mean, I know that they say it's a popular game. Tales of Zillia is not a very good Tales game, and I've been playing Tales games for years. It's too streamlined. It's too small. It's a very small game. It's not large. Like Tales of Symphonia, Tales of Alter F, or Tales of Graces, Tales of Fantasia, Tales of even Tales of Legendia. You have this massive virtual world to run around in. Like, Tales of Zillia is a series of small maps interconnected. I mean, that's not really, your developers aren't really using their fullest extent, okay, to build a huge game. So, to get that out the way, but Sony pays for these games. Most of these games are, most of these games that are on PS Plus are games that, in actuality, either didn't meet their sales quota and the companies need a cash infusion, so Sony might pay $1 million, $500,000, and put it on PS Plus. These aren't like blockbuster games, okay? Like, they'll have, like, one time they had Borderlands 2, but none of the DLC. So it's like Borderlands 2 for free, but the DLC is really it's like $100 worth of DLC that you'd have to buy in order to enjoy the full experience of the game, or get a season pass. So yeah, PS Plus is not really that much. I mean, it's free, but not really free, okay? And it's not the reason Sony is in dire straits. Supporting the PlayStation and money-hatting exclusives, and supporting the PlayStation brand and putting out games that, people weren't buying, that Sony fans are always saying, Sony has great IPs, but people don't buy them, so they aren't great. That you might like them, but they aren't great, okay? Mario is a great IP. Mario has made fuckloads of money for Nintendo. So guess what? That's a good IP. Legend of Zelda, people buy it. It's a successful IP. Halo is a more successful IP than most of Sony's IPs right now. Sony only has one ultra profitable IP, GT, Gran Turismo. All of their other IP that Sony fanboys are like, oh, these are great, they just sell like shit. People buy Sony systems for the third-party offerings, which means Sony is paying for Sony is like a console is like a grocery store, okay? Sony has the grocery store. They have to pay for the upkeep for the grocery store, so the networks, the upkeep. They're subsidizing people to put their games on the system, so that's PS Plus. And they're money-hatting exclusive, so they're paying people to put their games, to put their products in their store. Really? Okay. And that's just for PlayStation. Then you have to realize that Sony also has other, their electronics division is getting its ass kicked by Panasonic, okay, and Samsung, and LG, okay, and their music division is getting its ass kicked too. So basically, all around, not to mention that their movie division, well, let me put it this way, After Earth, that was a Sony picture. After motherfucking Earth. Okay? But PlayStation Plus has very little to do with Sony's dire straits. Very little to do. Almost nothing to do with it. Basically, PlayStation Plus is all of these are symptoms of a deeper issue. Okay, it's kind of like if you're running a fever. The fever isn't the reason you're sick. Something within the fever is a symptom of why you're sick. It's not the reason you're sick. Get it? So hopefully Sony can turn things around, but I doubt it. Right now, they're making moves to stave off the inevitable, and not dealing with they're not dealing with the systemic issues. They're not dealing with the actual root cause of the problems. They're just fucking they're dealing with symptoms. They're like, well, my eardrum is bleeding. I didn't hear a loud noise. I wasn't hitting the head, but my eardrum just started bleeding. Well, I'm gonna put some ice on my ear. Well, you're dealing with the symptom, not the cause of the symptom, and that's not smart. Here's hoping that Sony can pull things around, but at this point, I'm not holding up much hope. They might have to do a restructuring of that company, and hopefully Ken Kutaragi, Jack Tretton, and Shuhei Yoshida's salaries go down to like 80%. They take an 80% cut. So because these people made the the creative and financial and market decisions that led to Sony becoming the way it is right now. 10, 12 years ago. Because Sony has been losing billions for 9 years last year, and with their projected 1.1 billion loss this year, 10 years. So a decade of losing billions of dollars and millions of yen. And hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, I hate to say it, but someone needs to be fired. And not the people who were working in the assembly line doing the actual work. The people who made these decisions need to be fired. And I don't mean putting it on the board. I mean fucking fired. I mean, like, given very little money and escorted out by security and having their shit put into a little box. That's just what I had to say. Have a good day.